What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm showing my face for this Scream video. I just thought it would kind of be easier and more personal if you guys got to see me. I have shown my face before in some of these Scream videos, but I want to talk about Sidney yet again for Scream 6. We're getting close. I only can imagine for the cast, coming out for Scream 6. Obviously, there was the stuff over the weekend with like the fan poster, which people were kind of running with is real, even though I think it was very much a fan project. We had potentially 2 cast members. One of them looks very, very much like Melissa Barrera, so it's probably like a stab thing, I would very much imagine, unless they're going to introduce another sibling at this point of the game. So whether or not that's true or not, we're getting very close. We're about to enter May, right? Sunday is May 1st. The film starts very early June, so May has to be the month we get. By process of elimination, it has to be the month that we get the cast, which means it's the month you'd imagine we know fully whether or not Neve Campbell is back or not. And the longer we go, the more worried I get. Now, I want to preface all this and just make sure we're on the same page. I know it may be silly to worry or whatever. I don't want to make it seem like, I'm pacing back and forth, like I'm losing my mind thinking about this. She was the last one, even after the entire cast of Scream 5 2022 was announced. Sidney or Neve was the last person to sign on. So it's not uncharacteristic of Radio Silence, of Neve, to take their sweet time and do it at the last second. Not necessarily that's how it goes, but that's how they kind of show it to us. So again, I don't want to freak out too much and all that stuff, but I do want to talk about, because again, within the next month, this idea kind of becomes obsolete, so we might as well do it. Like, would we see Scream 6, or would it work, or any of those kind of things without her? If she's not in 6, or Scream 2, or Scream 2023, whatever you want to call it, and that name will change. So my answer is kind of complicated. I've always been pretty certain, and I've said this on live streams, I've said this in videos, I've always been like on the side that I just believe she'll be in it. So I really haven't had anything to worry about. I really haven't even answered the question of the reverse if she's not in it, because I've just been so sure. But let's just take a jab at it just in case it actually and again, we'll know pretty darn soon. If she's not in it, well, what does that mean? Again, for me, it means a couple different things, and I would need answers from her, mainly her, and Radio Silence. I don't think if Radio Silence was the only one to kind of come out, I feel like less inclined to believe them if it's just them. I would personally like Neve to say something as well, and maybe she doesn't, maybe she does. Why? That's a big thing I have said in the past, though, is if she isn't in this movie, I really, again, this is just me, this is just my opinion, from a selfish, personal standpoint, I'd like to know why she's not in it. Whether that be, obviously from her perspective, she can say some pretty damning things if she wants, if that's the actual truth, right? Of money wasn't good, the script was terrible, because I have said, again, this as well, she has said that if they killed Sidney in any script that they show, she's not coming back. She will not have Sidney die. That's her one, obviously a good quality script in general, but that's her one main thing. If they kill her off, she's not coming back. So it would be silly to dismiss that idea immediately. In terms of, okay, so May goes, June starts, and they say Neve's not in it. Nobody issues any kind of statement. One thing people would very quickly, diehard fans, quickly and easily go to, the first thing, or one of the first things would be, did they want to kill her for some reason? And that could very easily be wrong. But again, that's why, hear me out, that's just why I would like an answer. Because it doesn't have to be for that reason. It doesn't have to be, well, there was a dispute, she didn't like the script because we killed her, or the script just sucks and she doesn't want, it doesn't have to be that. It could be. And you should probably say something just in case. I really don't think, because I think some people have pretty strong thoughts either way. I don't think it's that much to ask for, though, some sort of kind of talking about it. She didn't lead 5. I don't expect her to ever lead 6, 7, 8. At this point, it's expected she's a complementary piece to the puzzle, right? So I'm not demanding, justice for Sidney or whatever, that, she's the main lead in these movies. I get it. But there is no franchise without her. She deserves quite a lot of respect. She deserves this. She deserves really anything when it comes to to this franchise. She deserves the right to not basically demand, hey, Sidney's not dying. It's just I deserve that. She does. So again, I don't think it's out of the question, because I can kind of understand people maybe going at me the other way in terms of combating it, right? I just don't see the issue of them maybe issuing a statement and giving the reason why, because it's the same thing for probably any franchise. If there was a big, like the character that made the franchise, and then all of a sudden things are going well and they're just not in the movie, you'd think somebody would say something, right? It just is that kind of a thing. So that's the first thing I would want. I would like to know why. And again, why doesn't have to be a super negative. However, let me say this. On the other side of why would she not do it, or maybe here's what I think. Let's boil it down before I get too far into rambling. One reason I could understand her not wanting to do it, if she doesn't do it, is a path of Star Wars, pretty much. Not necessarily, well, I'll just follow it through, where they give her the script, and the idea for Scream 6's script from Radio Silence's point of view is Gale is that legacy lead. So 5 was Dewey, this one is Gale, 7 will be Sidney. Sidney will be in this movie, but very little, whether it's as little as 5 or even less. And they could hand her that script, and she could say, well, what's really the point? She doesn't have to say that. She could also say, oh, cool, payday, don't have to do too much. I still get to be in the movie, can still hang out, like it'll be fun. I get to develop my character a little bit. Cool. Could go either way. But I'm just saying that would be a path that I could very easily see as the excuse and the reasoning why she's not in it. In fact, they could still use the same excuse, or they could just say it out loud that she is in it, but you could still get out ahead of it and say, hey, this is kind of Gale's thing now, just like 5 was Dewey's. Now this one's Gale. Sidney's in it, but she's not going to be in it all that much, just so we're kind of... Because again, there are people that do want Sidney still as the lead, and that's fine. You are free to believe whatever you want, or want whatever you want. You pay the movie ticket, so you have that right. But again, there are people like that, and that's fine. But if you're them, you need to get out ahead of that and say, hey, here's what you should expect of these two, Gale and Sidney at this point. Here's what you should expect of them going into this movie. The only, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that strategy, by the way, if it's revealed, if it's said early, if we find out just when we watch the movie ourselves, it's Gale's the lead of the legacy cast, and then Sidney is in it for literally like 5 to 10 minutes. If that's the case, I honestly don't mind that, as long as they don't do Star Wars, because we won't know for sure. But obviously, and we've said it 1,000 times before, obviously the Star Wars route would then be to kill Gale in this movie, and then obviously it's a little bit reversing with Luke and Leia, but you kill Gale in this movie, and then Sidney is kind of the legacy lead of Scream 7, and then she would die. Again, the issue that Radio Silence would have is you wouldn't be able to do that, so I guess you would just amend that and say Sidney is the OG lead of 7. She'd be the only one left, which would be kind of a bummer, and she would be leading this newer group, or the group we would already know at this point, but the younger group, and that's it, and she just wouldn't die at the end, and it would be over. So if that's the way they do it, again, it's pretty copycat of Star Wars, minus the death of Sidney, but again, you wouldn't be able to do it even if you wanted to, because Neve would not come back for that, so you're kind of screwed if you're them and you have that idea in your head. But I don't automatically hate that idea at all. I think that's a fine idea for, say, Scream 6. In terms of will the movie work, will people be happy? I don't think people will be happy if she's not in it. I think it'll make a bigger impact than some people give it credit for. I'm not saying it's going to lose 40, 50, half the revenue. I do think it'll matter, though. I do. I don't know how much, but I would wager it would be a noticeable box office amount. And I have a feeling they know that. If they didn't know that, or if they didn't think this franchise was, like Gale and Sidney still meant something, if they didn't think that, I think 5 would have been it for them. I do. I think you would have brought all 3 back. And even the way you ended 5 really was a out for a lot of these characters. Those 3 in particular. You don't have to take the out, but you could. And that's fine. I like movies that do that, that give you the option. Well, this would be a good goodbye, but you don't have to say goodbye. You could keep going. And I guess you could argue that then either way, but I don't know. It just depends on how much people still compare, or when they see Scream, when you hear, and I am actually one of them, when you hear about Scream, you think of Neve, like first or second with Ghostface, or third with Billy, and whatever. That's what you think of. And for as long as some people think that, and I think the group is bigger than what some people give it credit for, I do think the movie will be hurt. I would lay down that prediction. I think if it's announced, and it'll be fun in terms of predicting wise, if it's announced that Neve is not in the movie, it'll be fun to predict that. But I would say a prediction right now, before we even get that announcement, I do think the movie would suffer. Not necessarily in terms of quality. It may not. We may learn that we don't need these characters. Now, I don't think Sam is a strong enough lead. Tara is. Depends on how good the script is, though, because 5 is so-so. Here and there, it's really good. Other places, it's not so good, right? So it depends on the movie. We could find out we don't need the OGs at all. They don't even need to be in the movie. But then why do you have Gale? Or we could find out that we absolutely need them, that Scream cannot survive without Sidney, which maybe sucks. But hey, if Neve wants to show up every couple of years for the next 20 years, cash in her paycheck, be a mentor role forever. I mean, it's happened before to other horror franchises, right? So it's like, if that's what it needs to happen, who cares? I think nobody's going to be upset. Nobody will ever be upset seeing Sidney in a Scream movie. Maybe that's too hyperbolic. Maybe that's not true for everybody, but I think the vast majority don't really ever have a problem with it, and never would. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I do think the movie would suffer in terms of box office. I do think. Again, I'm not saying it's gonna make. The last one made quite a good chunk of change. I'm not saying this one will make half as much because one person's not in it. But I do think it would be pretty noticeable. I do think you would be able to point to it and say, like specifically for this reason, this is why the movie suffered. I think you could do that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turn on. Let me know if you like my face, maybe my emoting being a little bit more personal. If you like this over the pictures, we could do this instead. Let me know. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.